Okay, we'll start there now. So my name is Killian. So just to quickly introduce myself, I'm a course enrollment advisor here at the TEFL Institute. I have some prior teaching experience in France. Had an amazing time teaching out there. So today we'll be talking about how you could change careers potentially in 2026 with the TEFL Institute. First, I'll be passing you over to John. He'll take you through a few ideas. In the meantime, as well, while John is talking, if you'd like to put any questions at all that you might have into the chat. And at the end, we'll have a quick Q&A session where we can answer any questions at all that you might have. Yeah, so if you'd like to take it away there now, John.
Thanks very much, Killian. Okay, welcome to everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I do see a good morning from the USA. So my name is John, and I'm just going to take you through a couple of the main points Killian mentioned. I'm going to start out, I suppose, looking at the transition into TEFL. It's a frequent question. You know, I don't have any teaching experience. I don't know anything about teaching. So how do I move into it? I'll give you a very brief outline of my own experience, just to show you the kind of transition that you can have. So I'm going back a long time ago. It's more than 5 years. So 35, 37 years ago, I was in a job, absolutely hated it, knew I wasn't going to stay in it. And I came across a post which said, learn to teach, get paid to travel. And I thought, not a hope, couldn't possibly be true. So I made a phone call, signed up, never looked back. Um, so I went from a job I hated, which had absolutely nothing to do with education. I was working as a quality control assessor, excuse me, in a large factory. I couldn't be more further removed from a classroom. Um, the transition really is one that you decide on. If you want to do it, you can. This is the most incredible thing about TEFL, is that whatever you've done in your background, you're going to find a use for it. Sooner or later, it's going to come into your teaching. Okay. So have no doubt, it makes no difference what your background is, even to the point of education. You don't need a degree. If you have one, great. If you have a master's, a PhD, super stuff. But it's your passion about teaching and your passion for people and your passion about being a better person that will make you a great teacher. Okay. Um, I'll give you one. This is a real example of a teacher training course I did many years ago. I was training people to become teachers. I'm not going to give too many details, so there's no identifier. But I had a very young lady who had finished high school, graduated, had never been to college, never taught, but decided she wanted to be a teacher. And we did the whole course. She went to do her first teaching practice, and within less than a minute, probably 30 seconds, I wrote a note on my page, which was to phone a friend of mine who was a director of studies at a school. Now, this young lady had finished school and she'd worked in a supermarket for about 3 years. She was a checkout assistant. She was born to teach, and I knew it the second I saw her. My friend took a bit of persuading because every school will say that, you know, they want someone with a degree. She didn't have one. So he trusted my judgment, hired her, along with another person who had many more qualifications. This young girl stayed at the school 3 years, and then said she was leaving to go to South America. The school were absolutely gutted. She was one of the best teachers they had ever had, and that school has been open 38 years. So, whatever your background, you can make that transition into TEFL if it's what you want. Okay, so have no doubt about your background. Um, it really comes down to ask yourself a simple question: why are you here today? Okay, you're not here because you're just wondering, you know, what myself and Killian look like. You're here because you're already halfway to that transition. You've already decided this is something that's of interest. This is something you think you can do or believe you can do. So you're halfway there. The rest of it is fairly simple. It's about taking that decision and making a move. Okay. In terms of how do you position yourself with your existing skills. Again, like I said, everything in TEFL comes from the teacher. It comes from your background. That's what makes it such a rich profession. You know, I've worked with people, like I said, people have worked in supermarkets, people have worked as mechanics, carpenters. I worked with a guy who used to design, believe this or not, nuclear reactors for power plants. So the range is just phenomenal. I've worked with all sorts of ages, backgrounds, professions, qualifications, and what has made an excellent teacher for me is that passion about wanting to do it, nothing else. So have no doubt you're going to be able to make that move if you decide to do it. Okay, you'll know very quickly if it's for you or not. That's the other great thing about it. In terms of positioning yourself in job searches and your CV, it's actually quite easy. Your CV will speak for itself. Once you have your TEFL qualification, your background is going to speak to the schools that you apply to. So if you have worked in a bank, you know, the schools are going to look at that and say, okay, this person's worked in a bank. We have a lot of, for example, a lot of business people. We need a business English teacher. And they'll mark that out and say, okay, let's see how you are as a general teacher. And then if you want, you can take on the business side of things. You could, if you worked in a restaurant, schools in areas where there's a lot of tourism, they need people to be able to teach the catering style of English. You know, how do you take orders? How do you talk about food? What are the names of the food? How do you talk about preparing the food? This is all stuff we have an inherent knowledge of because we speak English. The students really need that info. You are basically a gold mine to any school or any student because of what you already know. Okay. So you can make your CV appear attractive to a school if you do your research, which kind of brings you to how do you make yourself attractive to the employer? Well, the first thing is like any other job, look at the school, do your research. First of all, you're thinking, what country do you want to go to? Now, my advice always in your first year, be as flexible as you possibly can with your ideas about where you want to go. Okay. The most frequent thing I think Killian would agree here, you know, if we ask people, where do you want to go? And they say Spain, the next question is, where in Spain? And invariably the answers are going to be Barcelona, Madrid, Valencia, and Seville. Okay. Everybody wants to go there. The schools know it. You got a lot of competition. Be flexible. If you get a job offer in Malaga or Barella up in the north or Burgos or anywhere, or Leon, take it because you need that 1 year to get your feet under the table and learn the ropes and find out what you're good at and what you really enjoy doing. And once you have that first year under your way, then you can start looking at other places and narrow down where you'd like to go to. But like any job, do your research about the school and do your research about the place the school is. And then tailor your CV to them. So if you don't like working with kids, you know, don't apply to a school which is going to have sort of 60, 70% of your classes are going to be kids. You're not going to enjoy it. The students won't enjoy it. You know, it won't work out. So think about what you'd like to do, match it as closely as you can, and put that in your CV. When you're putting your cover letter in, same thing. If you're going to Spain, you know, tell them why you're going to Spain. You know, why you're passionate about the country. You'd love to learn more about Spain. You want to improve your Spanish. You really want to immerse yourself in Spanish culture. That's what schools need to hear. They don't want people coming out for a year of a party life. And I was a director of studies at schools. I've had people actually telling me they weren't particularly interested in teaching. They just heard they had a great nightlife. And I just went, sorry, there's no job here. Okay. So think about it as you would any other job. Do your research, position yourself about what you would like to do, how much flexibility you've got in where you want to go, the type of teaching you want to do. For your first year, you may have to do some stuff that you're not particularly fond of. Pretty much every teacher I know has had to do that. But that's fine. It's all learning. And you may be surprised that you think, well, I don't want to teach adults. They're boring. And yet you might find you connect with them better and you're a better teacher teaching adults than you are with kids. That was my case. You know, I was always a better teacher with adults. It just the way it worked. I had other teachers who taught kids, would never dream of teaching adults, didn't enjoy it. Okay. So think about yourself um, and what you can bring to the party. And you'll be surprised if you sit back and think about everything you've done. You'll be amazed at how much you can bring into these schools and make yourself attractive to the employers. Okay. In terms of the destinations, again, flexibility is going to be key in your first year. You may want to go to Spain, but you might get a job offering in Italy. You know, my first year, I thought, you know, I would like to go to France, I would like to go to Portugal, and I would like to go to Italy. As it turned out, I ended up in Turkey, and it was one of the best years teaching I ever had. I absolutely loved it. As it happened, the following year, I did get my job in Portugal because I had my 1 year experience in Turkey. Okay. Um, so it's a I've just seen a post here from somebody in India who taught for 3 years in a small city called Elche in Spain. Elche, I actually know. Um, an old friend of mine lives not far from Elche at all, in a small town called Vienna. This is the other thing about TEFL, guys. You will be absolutely stunned. It's a massive, massive industry or business, but I can guarantee you, you know, within 3 or 4 minutes of talking to another teacher, you're going to know somebody who's been somewhere you've been, or you'll find someone who knows someone. And this is the network where you will find your jobs. That's why that first year is key. Be flexible. Once you start talking to teachers, you will find somebody who knows somebody who has a school in a place where you want to go, and they will make connections for you. Okay. So it's the first year is the critical one. And to get into that first year is that transition. And like I said, that's really down to you. You're halfway there by being on a webinar like this. So the rest of the way is, you know, Killian's going to go through the courses, match up the course with what you'd like to do, where you'd like to go, how far you want to take it, and then take that step. Finish a course, start applying. Okay. It's really a it's such a huge area. We could be on a webinar nonstop for 6 months and we wouldn't cover 2% of it. Okay. So start small, start with yourself, make that decision, choose the course that's best for you. And myself and Killian will put our email addresses at the end of this so that you can email us if you have any other questions that we can't get to. Okay. I'm just trying to read some of these questions to see if I can go through a couple of them while we're here so that we don't run out of time later. Um, there's one here, volunteer internship positions. You can, you know, it's a great way. Again, it goes back to that experience thing. You know, if you have the opportunity to volunteer or do an internship somewhere, and it's something you feel you'll enjoy, because that's always going to be important, you know, go for it. It doesn't have to be a full year. It could be volunteering in a local centre. You could have, you know, a small group at a local centre for immigrants doing 2, 3, 4 hours a week, whatever it might be. It's all about getting that little bit of experience. Okay. Um, taxes, if you got to the point of having a job offer, are you employed directly by the school? You pay taxes locally. Generally speaking, if you're working abroad, the school hires you. Um, personally, I would never take a job with a school that asked me to be self-employed in a country I don't know the rules in. Um, it would be dodgy, in my opinion. So your school should offer you a full contract. You should be in the social welfare system. You should have your medical care covered as well, in case anything goes wrong. And then everything is above board. Okay. Um, so yes, anything like that, a contract, it should meet the terms and conditions locally, but always make sure your tax is covered and your tax is paid. Okay. Um, no background, is it Swarov? No background in teaching, 7 years in corporate. Excellent. Okay, this is a great question. Um, so how can I start? Well, the the way you start is as I suggested. Okay. In your case, again, Killian, go through the courses. You have 7 years in corporate. that is a great thing to bring into the party. Okay, Killian will go through the courses and you'll see how you can use that to choose the correct course for yourself as well. So your background can also help you choose the course as well as choosing what type of teaching you're going to do. Okay. Only you, middle-aged folks working in Europe, tips, tricks, getting a visa and a job. A minefield, Liz, is kind of a bit of that question. If you're non-EU, obviously there is the visa issue. It's a huge area. You would probably want to go to a professional who deals in that sort of area to figure out, because it depends on where you come from, what the rules are. You may have visa agreements between certain countries within the EU. So places like Spain would have fewer restrictions on certain South American countries. So you'd find that if a South American person could move into Spain very quickly, very easily. So it is a large area. It is tricky. Most schools tend to try and take people with EU citizenship or people who would not need a visa, just because most language schools in Europe are small, they're family owned, and they simply they don't have the resources to cover those things. That's fascinating that you were in Elche, Pooja. I wonder if you pop up 3 years in Elche, would you mind popping up what years you were there? I'm just curious. '22 to '25. Yeah. No, I was wondering. I was there before. The last time I was there would have been probably 10 years ago, but yeah. Uh, okay, I think Killian, if you'd like to go on to the different courses, maybe take people through them, so it makes all this talk of mine makes a little bit of sense in terms of how to choose a course.
Yeah, perfect. And thanks for that, John. And in the meantime, as well, when I'm talking through the courses, if you have any questions at all that you'd like to ask, please feel free to put them into the chat. And once I've gone through all of the courses, myself and John will go through the questions, pick them out, and answer them all for you. So first of all, the first course that we have would be the 120-hour course. This is a brilliant course for those that are new to English language teaching. It really gives you all the basics that you need to know to begin English language teaching. So generally, this course takes about 3 to 4 weeks for our students to complete. So if you're looking for a course where you can get TEFL qualified very quickly, this is a brilliant place to start. And as well, down the line, it allows you the opportunity to then, if you wanted to continue on to another course afterwards, this will really give you a great start for it. After that, then we also have a 240-hour course. What's brilliant about the 240-hour course is that it actually includes the 120-hour course, but alongside the 120-hour course, it also includes 4 30-hour specialist courses. So these are amazing for get advancing your proficiency in niche areas. So, for example, we have teaching business English, we have teaching IELTS, we have teaching advanced grammar, and we have teaching young learners as well. So with the 240-hour course, you'll be well able to teach in many specific areas, and as well, it's a great way to make your CV stand out that little bit more. Um, I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with the IELTS exam, but the IELTS exam would be a very popular English proficiency test. It's you probably know yourself, John. It's taught in many schools. You've probably taught students preparing for IELTS for many years. And yeah, definitely, if you have knowledge on how to prepare students for that exam, one of the first questions that interviewers might ask you in the employment process is, are you familiar with the exams that our students are studying with? So if you have familiarity on how to prepare students for that exam, you would be in a great place as well. After that, then, so a little bit of a step up then would be our 180-hour level 5 course. This course I would definitely recommend to anyone that is really seriously considering entering English language teaching. So what's amazing about this course is that it is level 5 on the European Framework of Qualifications, and it's also regulated by Ofcal, which is the UK Office of Qualifications. So with that, it has extremely strong global recognition, and you can teach anywhere in the world with that. So again, that would be a very solid choice there. As well, alongside that, we actually also have a 300-hour level 5 course. So this actually includes the 180-hour level 5 course, but it also includes two 60-hour specialist courses of your choice. So again, this would be teaching business English, teaching English online, teaching English for speakers of other subjects, or as well, it would be teaching English for exams purposes, and it would just go into it in a little bit more detail. What's brilliant about the 300-hour course is that you can specialize it to your taste. So, for example, if you want to specialize in teaching English online and teaching business English, you can choose those two options. Or if you were more interested in preparing students for exams, you could choose the teaching English for exams route on that as well. So the 300-hour course is definitely a brilliant way to go. If you were to do that, you're more than qualified then for English language teaching. And yeah, would you have anything to add on the 300-hour course, John?
Sorry, could you say that again for me?
Just on the 300-hour course.
Yeah, the 300 hours actually goes back to that little question, and I'm just trying to find it. There we go. So yes, you have 7 years in corporate. This is where, as Killian said, this is where these things pull together, and it'll help you choose the course because of 300-hour course, it's the 180, but you have two specialist courses, and this is the beauty of it, is that you have four possible courses to take. Okay, you can choose two. One of those is teaching online and one-to-one. There's another one which is teaching business English. So, in answer to the question about 7 years in corporate, this would be the perfect match for you. You have the 180 hour plus your two specialists. Business English is always in demand, and business English is not just, people think business and they think guys in suits and banking and stuff. It's not. It's an umbrella term that covers just about everything. It's an ESP. It's English for specific purposes, and it covers every field you can think of. So 7 years in corporate, most business English is most business English classes that I've taught over the years have been one-to-one. Business English is better paid, as is one-to-one. So if you have 7 years in corporate, you've already got the corporate knowledge. Now, the trick here, and this is why the training is so important and the courses are so important. I always describe the courses as rewiring your brain as to how you think about the English language. So if you had 7 years corporate experience, you're teaching a business class, remember, you're not teaching them the business. They're the experts in their own field. So you may be teaching a banker, they're a banking expert. They don't need you to teach them banking. They do need you to teach them the banking English. Excuse me. And that's what your job is. It's to rewire your brain, think, okay, what language do I know about banking that I can teach them? You may be teaching engineers. You may be teaching a dentist. But this is what the training will do for you. So learning to teach business English is going to be about rewiring your brain to think about what language do I know and how do I package that for a student.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, John. And so yeah, now if anyone has any more questions as well, please feel free to enter them into the chat, and we'll go through some of them there now. As well, just in terms of the courses that we have, generally the 180-hour level 5 course would take about 8 to 12 weeks to complete. Once you enrolled on the course, you have full access to it immediately, so you can get going straight away, which is great. After that, then we would recommend setting aside at least 4 to 5 hours a week for study time if that was possible to fit into your schedule. So I see a question here from Lorcan. So you're working 35 hours a week and you were wondering if it was possible to complete the course at the same time. Definitely. So what is amazing about our courses is that they are fully self-paced. They can be completed in your own time whenever suits you. That way, then, if you are working full time, for example, you don't have to give up your job to pursue the course. You'd be able to take the course, enroll on it, maybe complete a few hours in the evening after work here and there. Ideally, then a little bit more time to it on the weekend, for example. So yeah, definitely it would be possible to take this course if you were working full time, for example.
Okay. Should we go through some of the
Yeah,
questions, Killian?
perfect.
There's a couple of good ones there. I'm just going to start. There's is it Nicole? Are you still likely to be heard if you do not speak any of the native languages? Did you speak French? If not, does this hinder you? The answer to that is you're actually better off not speaking the native language, Nicole, believe it or not. Um, the simple reason for that is, and this again goes back to rewiring your brain about English. Remember, you're going to be teaching English, and your classroom should be 100% in English. Never translate for a student, and discourage them from translating for any other students. It inhibits learning. As I like to say to people, you speak English. How did you learn to speak English? Did your parents buy some sort of baby book of languages to translate from baby goggle to English or not? You learn by listening and doing and saying. Okay, so in short, not speaking the language is probably an advantage. Okay.
Yeah, and just to clarify the difference between the 120-hour course there and the 180-hour course. So again, they're both excellent courses to take. The 120-hour course can be completed that little bit quicker. It is generally 3 to 4 weeks to complete, whereas the 180-hour course generally takes our students 8 to 12 weeks to complete. So definitely it would depend on your goals. For example, if you want to get TEFL qualified that little bit quicker, you could do the 120 hours. The main difference there then would be that the 180 is level 5 on the European Framework of Qualifications again. So with that, it does have that just that extra global recognition. So it would open a few more opportunities for you. It would definitely stand out that little bit more in the CV. So generally, it's the one that I would be most recommending. And just to let everyone know as well, we will actually be having a sale starting tomorrow for our January sale. So you've come to this at a good time.
I think we have perhaps one, two, three, four more questions. Just asking about finding work online. Okay. Um, the online tutoring and the online teaching, it's vast. There's so many schools out there. We do have a lot of people who've gone on to do online tutoring, and we have a lot of people who are making a nice little bit of extra income. Some people are building up their skills to make a full-time living from it. We don't recommend any particular school simply because there are so many. We'd need a whole team just to constantly monitor. But if you sign up on the courses, we do have job seminars, and we have a job coach who would be able to, they'd have the time to be able to get into that side of things for you. Okay, so the job seminars are there. Feel free to sign up for it. You don't have to, but it'd be very useful if you have a specific need, like getting into the online side of things there. Okay. Again, yeah, Jennifer's answered Veronica's question there in part. Okay, so as an American who'd like to teach abroad someday, is it wise to start teaching online first? Jennifer's experience teaching online gave her the confidence to teach, make sure she's a good fit for more before making the commitment to moving abroad. So there's one person's personal experience of it. My point of view would be, I think it's a personal choice. If you feel you need that little extra edge to give you the confidence, as Jennifer said, great. Otherwise, you know, volunteer perhaps at a local community center. You'll get, the one thing I would say to anybody getting into teaching, the biggest fear is your first lesson. Okay. I still remember mine. I just remember one face at the front. It was a young South Korean chap who had a very friendly face. I think I stared at him the entire lesson because it took the fear away. Um, and it was terrifying, I'm going to be honest. But once I had that passed, that was it. Every single lesson after that has been a learning experience, and an enjoyable one at that. So, once you do that first lesson, you'll start building that confidence. It's only when you do it that you really know whether or not you're going to be able for it. But 99% of people are, and they enjoy it as well. Um, Could you find a position with the just the specialist certification teaching online? I'm sure you could, but it's what I would advise is always think about how confident are you going to feel with something like just a specialist certification. The specialist certification really builds on the other courses. It's an extension of them because again, it's that rewiring how you think about the language. You won't get that with a specialist certification. You know, that's why the training is so important. Um, you may get a position, but I'm not sure how effective you'll be and how much you'd enjoy it. What others have we got? Um, are there still possibilities to teach English worldwide as a non-native English speaker with a TEFL cert and no degree? Yes, would be the answer to that one, Joe. Um, you can see what the answer there again, Jennifer. More requirements for degrees and native English to teach in schools or language centres. Maybe online would be a good fit. Online, certainly. It's obviously going to be a much bigger arena with far more possibilities. And they won't have the visa requirements that some countries would need. So, yes, Jennifer, I'd agree with you. Online would be a good fit in that case. Okay, let's have it go? Okay, Declan, I've just been through yours there. So, be it in education, counting, certification in TEFL, 2 years experience working in internal order at a pharma company, applying in Japan, but no response yet. Japan can be a tricky one. Um, it's very, very popular. So it's very, very competitive, Declan. Um, I don't know what the specifics would be. Generally speaking, there may be visa requirements, like some of our internships would have requirements of passports from certain countries. I think it's 6 or 7, Killian, if I'm right, yeah, 6, 7 countries. And they're just visa requirements. Sometimes it's a mix of school and visa requirements. So that may be what you're running into. It might be worthwhile having a look and just checking and see what visa requirements, Declan, there would be for Japan, because that may be an issue there. Super. Jennifer, you completed the business English course with the TEFL Institute. Recommends it for anyone interested in teaching adults. Thank you, Jennifer. That's lovely to hear. Yeah. Um, yeah, AH definitely. Again, online, it's just growing. Um, I'm sure Killian has had plenty of people on looking, with the intention of teaching online and not wanting to locate or relocate from where they're living. It's a frequent one that I think we come across. Do I pick questions randomly? Um, Not really. I'm trying to, we're trying to kind of work through the list, but as our screen kind of jumps as we flick through them. So I'm sorry if we've missed a question, please flag it with us. Um, oh, TEFL certificate received. Bachelor of Arts. Connor, our TEFL qualifications are recognised worldwide, like they sit in the European qualifications framework, which is kind of a gold benchmark in terms of qualifications. So there's no question of it not being recognised, and employers can always check the validity by going on our website and entering the code off your qualification. Okay. 20 years in SNA, interested in doing the course, only teach online. Yep. Uh, Certainly. Training, yes. Diploma in childcare, education. Again, as I said, plenty of people are going online and doing this. we have a lot of retirees. I was only speaking to a lady in Spain 2 days ago, and this is her plan. You know, she's living there, she has a house there, she wants to teach online, she doesn't want to get rich, but she would like to have a few extra euro at the end of every week just to have a little bit more comfort. And this is a nice thing about online. I think Killian would agree. You know, with the online side of things, you can pick 5 hours a week, you can pick 25 hours a week. You know, it's up to you how many hours you want to work, and obviously the school would have to have the hours for you, but you have the possibility to work in maybe two, three, four places. So yeah, perfectly doable. Language teaching experience, teaching. Uh, Veronica, why do I feel like so many opportunities require language teaching experience? I have a background in education, but not language teaching. Um, I don't know, Veronica, why that would be the case. I'm guessing because it's just because if you think about the languages out there, I mean, English is still the number one language worldwide in terms of the numbers speaking it. Um, it's the language of business, it's the language of communication, it's the language of airlines. It's pretty much the language of medicine. I think it's something like 94% of medical textbooks are written in English. Um, and I guess it's a demand thing. Um, I've done a lot of education and training myself outside of English language teaching. But I would agree. I think language teaching seems to be just one of, if not the biggest area within education. Okay, which countries have more demand for teaching IELTS? I don't think there's, as a percentage of students, I don't think it varies very much because IELTS it's really there as a benchmark for people who want to study in an English speaking country. So the percentage of students in each country would be approximately the same who want to go somewhere else. So I don't think as a percentage, I don't think there's much of a difference. In terms of sheer numbers, then we're probably, I don't know, would you agree, maybe China, Killian? Would that
Yeah,
be
definitely.
just in terms of the number of students? Over there. Robin, yeah, start teaching online. Yes. Good enough experience to then get a job overseas. Yes. You can find work straight away from doing a TEFL course. As I said, I did mine, and a few months after being in a dreadful job that I hated, I was living in a penthouse apartment overlooking the bay, in a large city in Turkey. So yeah, the demand is there. Like I said, flexibility is key once you do your course. Do we have? Can you do it online only? Yep, it's all online. Okay. Ramya, what I think, rather than trying to answer that, because I'd have a lot of questions about your post, if you would drop an email either to myself or Killian, we'll pop our email addresses up and we'll go through that with you and just see if we can offer you any guidance on it. Okay. Um, so Liz, yeah, I should have asked you, Liz, when you say non-EU, um, would you mind popping in just where you're from, just so I can get an idea, and we might be able to give a little more information on that one. Lisa, you homeschooled your three kids for 17 and a half years. That's a lot of patience. Well done. I'm not sure I could do something like that. You loved it. Is that helpful information for getting work after TEFL? Absolutely. Yes, 100%. If you homeschooled your three kids, you've already got an idea. Well, being a parent, I'd imagine you'd already got the crowd control aspect under your thumb. So the other sides of that would be things like, I mean, you've had to structure lessons, you've had to structure a syllabus, you've had to deliver on it. And your kids, I'm assuming this part is that they may perhaps have had to pass exams at the end. even if they didn't, yes, 100% that would carry into your TEFL. As I said, everything and anything you've ever done in life, you can bring into your TEFL. It's just how you frame it and how you think about it. Okay. Sorry, we missed almost one of the first ones. Prospects in Canada in 26 with a TEFL certificate. It depends. If you're living in country, I would say it's as good as anywhere else. It really comes down to, I suppose, where you are. It's like anywhere else. If you're in Ireland, as we are, you'd have more opportunity in the bigger cities. But if you're thinking of moving to Canada, that would be a whole different ball game because there'll be so much else that you'd have to consider with visa applications, etc. It generally speaking, if you are moving into a country where English is the first language, looking for English teaching work, it's going to be a lot tougher because you have a population that already speaks it. But it really depends on your own personal situation if you're based in Canada already or looking to move to Canada. Just having a quick look to see where I finished. That's one, Killian, you might have that one from, excuse me, from Amber. Um, about the reference letter from the course instructor.
Yeah. I can't seem to find that question there now, John.
Bear with me. I've actually
Yeah,
lost it
no
myself
worries.
scrolling through.
Sorry for just now.
Sorry, yeah, there it is. Amber was asking, can you get a reference letter from the course instructors for potential employers?
Yeah, so if you'd like to, you can ask our instructors at the end of the course once you've completed it for that, and I'm sure that they'll be happy to oblige. Perfect.
Um, is the fact that I'm a native speaker a positive aspect I should stress? I don't think you need to. Um, generally, um, the way you approach it is to put in your application as you normally would. If the school then asks if you are, then you can confirm with it. But I wouldn't necessarily stress it, no. Opportunities in Asia, massive is the answer to that one, Aidan. Like I said, China is like the numbers of teachers that are going out to China. I don't think anybody has an exact figure. I know I've seen like one job advertisement for one agency looking for 600 teachers. So you can imagine just how big an area it is. Vietnam, higher salary incentives. South Korea. Uh, this is a question we're asked frequently: is what do you get paid? And the only way we can answer that is, as a rule of thumb, you will be paid well by the local standard. Okay, you will generally be paid more than a local person with a similar skill set. Okay, and sometimes excessively more than people who would be further up the employment ladder. I know my first year in Turkey, my best friend was a doctor out there, and he was the head of contagious diseases, the Centre for Contagious Diseases at the hospital, and it was a very big city. Um, and I think I was being paid 3 times as much as he was. Um, so I had quite a good living, to say the least, by local currency. You know, wherever you go, you're going to have expenses. So you know, you're not going to become a millionaire teaching English, but you can have a very good lifestyle. Okay. Uh, job portal where we can find students? No, Danielle, that wouldn't be the case. Like we are a training institute, but like I said, we have job seminars. There's a job coach, and you'd be more than welcome to attend. And your job coach will help point you in the direction where you can find students and jobs. Okay. How long is the sale lasting? February. I'd give it to the end of January. It may stretch for a day or two into February, but don't hold me to that. Some Asian countries require a 4-year bachelor's degree, Japan being one. Yeah, that would be the answer then. Um, your degree is 3 years. Yeah, it's a little unfair, I think, personally, to quabble about it. I think if you have a degree, you have a degree. But yeah, I know a lot of people have run into that one, Nicole.
Okay, guys.
Masters in Applied Linguistics. Yep, sorry, Killian, yeah.
Yeah, so that's unfortunately all that we have time for today. So first of
Super.
all, I would just like to say that if you enjoyed the webinar today, and if you'd like to leave us a review, I'll be posting a link to that into the chat here. And for anyone that does leave a review, if they would like, you can screenshot your review and email it into us, into our team here at hello@tefl.ie. And then we'll be more than happy to send you one of our guides for free. As well, unfortunately, we couldn't get to all of the questions today. Thanks, John. We tried to get through as many as you could there. So what I'll do now is I'll send both John's email and my own email into the chat now. And any questions that we didn't get to, please email either me or John your question there, and we'll be more than happy to help. So thanks again to everyone joining today. I'll
Absolutely.
just send that message there now. I hope that that's in the chat. So if everyone would like to access that there now. Perfect. And thanks everyone for joining again.
Thanks a million, everyone. And apologies. If you do email us, we will get around to answering your questions. Okay.